Park.
Mm-hmm.
I called for some tickets for me and some family to go to the game, and we were buying our tickets, everything like that, and we were gonna buy some good up there seats, and at HEB Center that's only like $35, and if people aren't going to Austin Spurs games, it's their fault, right? Because you get to meet these players, you get to see these players. These are guys who within a year or two, right, are going to be in San Antonio. And an amazing experience. But there's drinks, there's food. You're gonna meet the GM, you're gonna meet the coaches. There's gonna be like a whole little get together kind of thing. You'll be out there at courtside for warm ups, and coach will come by and meet everybody. So at that point, that's when I got to get in contact with Landry Fields, just kind of in passing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I already knew. Right, I knew who the guy was. He gave a talk to the prospective season ticket holders and stuff like that. But this weekend he's doing a thing where there's just the website. It's called the Coaches Clinic. They're doing free registration for basketball coaches or anybody kind of in that realm interested in learning more about anything from attacking a 2-3 zone defense. What the advantages are, in different game scenarios. But Landry was there to speak more on the side of player development and leadership. And Landry Fields, and I talked about it, I think it's in the bad section of my piece, where you almost had the heads of the organization talking too much.
Oh, okay. They quoted him like at 12 minutes or right or something.
Out of like the 40 minutes of overall stuff, you give the coach, we're there to kind of hear from the players and stuff like that. And I didn't break down all the math and all the numbers, but a lot of the series was highlights. So they're just showing game tape and stuff like that. In my opinion, one of the bad sides of it was the players did not talk enough. So Landry Fields had a large presence throughout that, and oftentimes it was just hearing him talk about the approach of the Austin Spurs, the approach of the G League, and how the overall goal. He says this multiple times, is develop not just with the player but the person. And that relates to our conversation here, because we're talking about again, Lonnie Walker kind of is developing as the person. He's already the player. He is that whole first year was to get him ready for the next level. This coming from Miami, and coming from Reading, Pennsylvania. All right, the show is yours. You are our new rookie. You're the star. You're gonna have to get ready to talk to the media. We're gonna do this all in in light pressure situations. You're gonna have to talk to the media. You're gonna have to get used to playing against another level of talent and get used to our system. But what all the stuff that comes into it from the preparation side and everything like that, and we even got a glimpse of that from Keldon's journey, through Growing Grounds, where they kind of had him in the backseat of the car and they're talking to him on his way to the game, and about what's it like, being in Austin, and kind of is it a disappointment, right? And he didn't sound like that, right? But at the same time, he didn't sound as enthusiastic about it as Lonnie did either.
You know what? I kind of picked up on that on Keldon. I kind of picked up on that in his I think he maybe had only one training camp media day availability, like during after practice or whatever. And he did not. He was not excited. He was just like, he's like, I'm gonna do what I do out here, and just whatever the coaches want me to do. He's like, that's what I'm gonna do. But I think he felt the sense that I got was that he felt like he was competitively ready to play. Like, that he was competitively ready to play at this level, even though he was okay with going through the process.
Right. And you really don't come from a program like Kentucky.
I know.
And expect to be playing in the G League. Right. So that goes to him, but we all kind of know the Spurs way is a lot of Kool-Aid. Right. You have to really believe in this system because everybody has to drink the same Kool-Aid. And it's got the same level of sugar. It's got everything. Nobody is treated differently. And you really just kind of have to buy in. So Keldon sounds like a guy, and I don't know, they don't put dates on any of this footage, so we don't know if it's from early on in the season or later on. But I can tell you from social media quotes and videos that he's put out there, you could tell progressively he was drinking that Kool-Aid over the course of the season.
yeah.
That's what he needed to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's no better voice for the Austin Spurs than Derek White.
Yeah.
Right? The dude won a title with the team. Sure,
Yeah.
that helps, you know, winning a title with them in 2018. But he too was a first overall pick. You know, his journey was a lot different than Keldon Johnson's, a lot different than Lonnie Walkers, right? But and to use another Landry quote here, where, you know, he said, this set the precedent. You know, it was really DeJounte, it was Bryn, and you can even go back and, you know, it was Simmons, it was Kyle Anderson. He goes all the way back to Danny Green.
Kojo.
These players all set the precedent as to why this is successful. And why we go about things this way. Again, you know, not to harp on the guy, and we can definitely move past him, but it just sounds to me like Chimezie Metu hasn't quite drinking that Kool-Aid, or if he did, it didn't sit right. So then the Spurs, you know, again, being a contract situation, they have to make a decision. Is this guy going to be a Spur, or is he not? Based on that quote we brought up, I don't know what his future holds in this organization. I truly don't.
So let's move on. Let's talk about just kind of the overall rookie. I like that I like how you put it, where it's like, it's all these guys, they advocate that this is a positive thing, and I totally agree. It's obvious. There's no arguing against it, right? It's just like, this is a positive process and experience that is only going to make the longevity of these young players' careers even longer, right? And that's just all that this is. You know, we're not trying to max you out on year one, you know what I mean? And whatever, we're in it for the long haul. Now, I totally think that Derek White's, you know, time over there was necessary, and his was more for skill development and preparing him to be a point guard for the Spurs. And Lonnie's, like I said before, was a little bit of both. It was a little bit about, you know, him building the confidence himself in his body, and then also learning the system and all that type of stuff. Now, this year, now that's why I kind of understand that Keldon was a little bit upset, because to me, the proof is like, I don't have to. I was like the only guy at the beginning of the season saying that, you know, Luka and Keldon didn't need to go to Austin. Now, I was very even though everyone thought I was bashing Austin. No, it's like, I love what we do down here, but I felt like they were ready to compete at this level, and it turns out that that they also needed the development, but a lot of people think that it's either or, and it's like, it's like they can develop in San Antonio too, not playing a damn minute. They can be in practice every day, competing against Patty Mills and all these guys every day, earning their keep in San Antonio. So, and I felt like this year at the end of the season, I mean, it's kind of like in the pudding. We sucked. We were not good. You know, we needed a little bit of more of something, right? We needed more Keldon. I was saying that we needed. Everyone didn't think Keldon can play for us because he couldn't shoot a three, you know, whatever, in the first like 2 or 3 months of the season. Keldon still needs to work on his offense. I'm like, no, he has what we need. We need the juice, you know? I was like, and Keldon brings the juice. I don't know. I kind of feel like at the end of the day, ironically, we needed them more than they needed Austin this year.
And I can see that. I would just say that, especially between Keldon and Luka, Keldon was the more ready product. I mean, hands down.
Yeah.
Again, where he comes from and everything like that. But you look at their performances in Austin, and that's where, you know, I'm on the other side from you, man. I'm saying
a lot of people are.
They just weren't ready, you know. Looking at it, Keldon, I understand that he has 3-point potential. He shot right around 25% from Austin on the season. What he brings, like you said, it's kind of like that it factor.
Yeah, it is.
Right? It's really just energy. It's excitement.
And for me, I saw it in Summer League. I didn't need to see any more from Keldon than what I saw in Summer League, to know that he can be competing for minutes. And I know the Spurs way would never give it to him year one. I understand all this stuff. I understand the Spurs way and the culture and the positivity around everything. I just feel like this year might have been the exception. You know what I'm saying?
The only reason why I think that it becomes even more important for Keldon to have spent this last year in Austin was because of all the contract evaluations that needed done at the San Antonio level. You know, he's a 3-4. You know, that kind of fits right in there with a DeMar DeRozan spot. That's where Lonnie's a 2-3. So you already get a little bit heavy at the small forward position, right? You've got a log jam there.
Yeah.
So then what are we going to put him out there as a power forward then? I mean, maybe
Trey Lyles was our 5 for a lot of the season.
He was, you know, but I mean, you've got to figure again the decisions that need made at that 4, you know, in terms of Drew Eubanks, Chimezie Metu, these other guys. So what Keldon's time in Austin was, and really to me, was just a master's course on the book side of things of learning the Spurs system. So that's why he was brought up to San Antonio a lot. Like, and that's one of the things they did really well, I think, to in the documentary Growing Grounds, or the docu-series. And I use leak was definitely a PR move. It felt heavy from the PR department.
And I want to talk to you about all that too, about just the fact that we got this content in general a little bit later. But go ahead.
Sure. You know, and it definitely felt heavy that way, but it did speak a lot to how they use these guys going back and forth, what the importance of the proximity between Austin and San Antonio is, and why they chose a city like Austin to house the Spurs G League affiliate, because what we don't get to see every day is how much time, you know, Coach Blake Ahern of Austin spends in San Antonio at Spurs practices, right? Talking to Coach, talking to Becky, talking to Timmy about what they're doing there, so he can prepare and bring it back down to San Antonio, from San Antonio to Austin, and start, while they're not teaching the system, they teach the building blocks to some of the things that they'll start doing at that next level. You definitely water it down and try to get these guys on board with that. So that's very important. You know, even though we don't see so much of Keldon and Drew around San Antonio, they've earned enough with this team to become part of Coffee Gang, right? As we've gotten to see in the viral videos, during the COVID-19 quarantines. And so, they've definitely spent time. That means with Patty, with Rudy, with Bryn, these other members of that, to where, and that just comes from practices, right? We don't know that they're at practice together, but they are at practice together. And so the Growing Grounds really did a lot for me to really show how much they really do spend time together as an organization of the Spurs, not just Austin and not just San Antonio. So that's really key, in the development of all of these guys.
I love that too. And you're absolutely right, man. I mean, like, I can write you a list on all the positives that I think that are great about Austin, and that's a huge one. The one that the ability that these young guys get to build these bonds, and I thought, going into the summer league, when I started seeing pictures of Luka, KJ, and Quindary in Vegas, whatever together, I'm like, dude, yes. I'm like, that's what we need. That's what Spurs was. The big three, they were about this bond between the players. I'm like, what? Great. Now it just excites me to see that, for the future, we have this growing, we have that bond growing, and off the court, and in the friendships, like the friendships are building, the connections are because it all trend in the Spurs way. That's just how it is. We're about being bigger than basketball on an intellectual level. And that serves us on all aspects of life on the court as well. And I think that's something that was a big pro of them being there. And I don't want it to say like them being in Austin this year was not beneficial for them. I know it was. They got a hell of a lot better. I love what they did with Luka. I mean, you can go back in my film rooms that I already finished all 3 our draft picks from last year. And I love what they did with Luka in the G League. They had him like being that stretch that they need him to be in the NBA. And it didn't matter how well he did it. they just made sure he got the clicks and the opportunities consistently in the games because a lot of people like say, oh man, he didn't shoot that well from the three, and it's like, no, he took a lot of shots. Like he took a lot of shots. It really doesn't matter how well he shot it this year. It's the fact that he's finding those spots. He's getting comfortable in shooting those spots because he's going to get a lot of those in San Antonio. And so this is the same thing with Keldon, so it was positive. It was positive.
The one thing, especially with Luka, and this did come up in the growing grounds as well, was, where even though he was coming from overseas and ready to rock and roll, he did understand, after it got through a couple months of it, of playing in Austin, where he's like, there was a lot of things I needed to just learn. This is a totally different game over here, and that's what made Keldon a better prospect overall too, was because he already understood American basketball, right? Where it's just different, fast pace, more offensively focused, everything like that. But there was times where Luka and Luka brings, because of his, everything that he has, like you said, he's that real stretch that you need in today's NBA. He can handle to an extent. He can hit from all levels of the floor. I think that he, as far as him as a prospect, he still needs to be a bit more aggressive, and he understood that, and we got to see him develop that throughout the year. The 3-point did develop, and a lot of it too was just confidence. Just finding his fit, finding his energy to lock in. It's a lot more aggressive game.
And for being a young kid, it has a lot to do with just adjusting to leaving home and like being away from everyone and just adjusting to the culture and lifestyle.
At 19 years old, and he's moved across the world, from all of his family and all of his friends. The 7 turnovers a game needs to come down a little bit. But that's only going to come with work. So,
but if he's getting 7 a game, that means that the coaches are like telling him, you need to be doing this. You need to keep doing it. Do it better. Let's work on it. But you're going to have to be a facilitator at this position. You know what I mean? When you come to San Antonio. So it's like, yes, learn the spacing, learn how the spacing's different in this game and that. And it takes adjusting. And it was just, like you said, he's so intellectual. A lot of it is, like you said, it was just him learning, like him just figuring everything out. Like, okay, this is how we do it here. Okay. And then he figured it out.
And he really embraced all that, and I think that, given if it projects that way, because in addition to his game, his frame needs a lot of weight to it yet, to really compete at the next level, because he looks scrawny, very scrawny.
Yeah, you can tell, like, he's a big dude, but when he goes into the paint, like, you can tell even in the G League level, he needs to bulk up and just get a little bit stronger.
And he'll add some mass. It just comes again with some training over here, and I trust our trainers to get him up and going. But he'll figure it out. But I would be surprised if he goes to San Antonio before January next year, assuming the season starts on time. I would be surprised if he doesn't start the first couple, 2 to 3 months in Austin, because it's going to be his team at that point. We're going to bring in another rookie here, but Keldon, he'll get the Lonnie treatment. He'll get brought up, even though his minutes might be restricted at first. Then it's about just continuity, 24/7 NBA lifestyle. Luka's going to get brought along a little bit slower.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's something that people, if anyone's listening to this, just be ready for that. when he comes out,
we want to see him.
Yeah.
I know we want to see him. He was our 19. He wasn't even 29. He was 19. So we got him before we picked up Keldon. But that speaks more to the potential that he has, and not the actual talent he had coming out. So good things come to those who wait. We got to wait a little bit longer on him. Because
he's the guy. He has the potential to be the guy for us, or at least the second guy for us. At least like he can just do it all, and he's so athletic. It's time, if he can ever like master defensive timing to affect plays when he's not directly in the play, if you know what I'm saying. If he can ever master that, and he will, I'm sure he will. He's super smart. He's gonna be a hell of a two-way player. He's going to be a hell of a two-way. And that's something people don't even understand now because he's not there yet. But everything he does offensively, obviously, like you said, he can do it all. What I love the most is when he grabs that board and he just takes off and beats everyone down the floor and jams it on someone.
Yep.
And if you have someone who can do that at the 4 position and maybe in a small ball 5 role, that really speeds everything up. I mean, that really just says like Lonnie, Bryn, DJ, go. You know what I mean? Because
we're running this, and he's got the ability and the overall awareness to pass it off to somebody running with him, with ease. And with Luka's development, that's going to be, in my opinion, the greatest element of having Coach Duncan on the sidelines there, because we already got to see how Jakob Pertl's game grew and Trey Lyle's game grew just by having Timmy on the side, and you really saw his influence over the course of a year of them working on each other this whole time in practice. Luka, with what he carries potential for this organization moving forward, you've got a coach then in Tim who knows those expectations and can relate to him on that level. Like, you're number 19, I was number 1 overall. Okay, not to one up yet, but what I understand is that this is what needs fixed. Right. And so I can speak to you one-on-one on this level. They both did have very similar builds. LaMarcus is a little bit bigger of a 4 or 5. He's
heavy,
stocky.
He's heavy. Yeah.
Whereas Timmy was kind of that longer, thinner frame that you see in Luka. So not to say that that's the benchmark for Luka is Tim Duncan, because that's unfair. But as far as what kind of game to expect from the guy, it really helps to have an NBA Hall of Famer on the bench coaching you at your position, and you're 19 years old.
Yep. Hey, before we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, just real quick, from your article. Well, we touched already on a lot of it. I want to touch a little bit on the content side, but before, let's kind of like finish talking about some of these rookies. Let's talk about Spoon really quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Man, I went to the one game I did get to see this year in Austin was against the Greensboro Swarm.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember that game, but Quinn went off. I think he ended up with like 30.
Sounds right around January.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was right around January. He went off, and it went to overtime or double overtime in that game. He ended up with like 38.
I was at that game.
Where the guy got thrown out on the
I was at that game. Okay.
That was awesome. Dude, what a game. Like, what a game, dude. To see Quinn just dominate like that and Keldon make all the right plays on the defense at the end stretch of the game to cause those turnovers that he caused. And for like Drew to come up big and Chimezie to come up big, dude, that was an awesome game. But I mean, obviously Quindary was a standout, if you ask me. And do you think that, next, I mean, more about like his contract situation. Do you see him taking a role like eventually or with the Spurs? Maybe after another year in Austin.
Well,